How to find your best financial months during the year. Hello everyone, my name is Marina. I'm a professional astrologer and I have 12 years of experience with prediction, with chart analysis, and one of the most interesting topic that pretty much all of us care about is our financial well-being. So that's why in today's video, I want to help you with some advice and guidance on how you can find the most beneficial times during the year, how you can plan according to them, and basically how you can understand what does the next year look like for you financially. So the first thing to begin with is your natal chart as usual. So I would recommend you to start with analyzing your second house. This is the main house of your personal resources, the things that you have, the money that you earn and you own. And pay special attention to the ruler of your second house, which is this planet in particular, and also what are the aspects with the other planets. And pay extra attention to the difference between challenging and positive aspects. For example, let's say that the moon is ruling your second house. You have Cancer on the cusp of second house, and your moon has a trine with Saturn, for example, and a square with Uranus. This is giving you great insight about the planets and their energy and how they affect your financial situation. In this case, the Uranus transits, because of the square, can bring more disruptions, more unexpected situations. So you have to be more mindful of some sudden and risky activities in general in your life. And if Saturn is trining the ruler of your second house, then if you are doing these things in a disciplined way, if you are putting effort, if you take the time to plan things and do them in a more structured, organized way, then generally this is more beneficial for you. So the first step is to check second house, the ruler of second house, and the aspects with the rest of the planets. And you can put a little red and blue color or whatever colors you choose to make the difference. Which planets and which energies for you are gonna work better and which could be more like a test for you. So that's how we start. We define our starting point, our natal chart. After that, you can use different methods. The methods that I personally work with are secondary progressions, solar return charts, and transits. And in each of those methods, you can also add, of course, additional methods, but those are really foundational. And in each of those methods, you should analyze your second house as, again, the house of your main resources. And first of all, we look for the bigger changes. So if there is something drastically different starting or ending throughout the year that is related to your second house, then this is gonna affect your financial situation for sure. So start with progressions, check if there are new aspects which are triggering the ruler of your second house or the actual second house. Also, you might want to check if there are ingressions of the cusps of the houses, and then try to find the exact time when those aspects start or end. For example, you may notice that the ruler of your second house will have a trine, let's say, with Mercury, and at some point there will be, let's say, square with Jupiter. Then you have to consider this. When you have a square with Jupiter, you need to be more careful not to overestimate things, not to start too big things, or to basically try to put too many things on your plate. And when Mercury has a harmonious aspect, then those are the times when you need to be more detail-oriented, more practical, more concrete, more focused on reality. So start with progressions, your second house, again, the ruler, and you can check the natal ruler of second house and also the progressed ruler of second house, and then see the dynamic through the months. So this is very informative and can show you not only the beneficial months, but also the potentially challenging months. Then you can analyze your solar return chart. This is a chart which affects you during the whole year. And this chart is especially important, and the connection with second house can indicate also some changes which affect you financially. This will be more like an overview for the whole year, but you might want to check that as well. And the last step is transits. The transits, they are very dynamic, and there we may have more things to analyze. And here, before I continue with this part, I also want to mention that there is a new type of reading which I'm offering from now. And this offers you a full year of astrology support. So if you would like, you can get personalized prediction for the whole year. And then there are different options. You can get 3 extra mini readings throughout the year, which are also included in your service. Or you may even choose the monthly astrology support, in which each month you can send me additional question and I can analyze and answer. Or if you want to plan something, I can find the best time for you. So basically, this is an ongoing astrology support throughout the year. Or in other words, it's like having your own personal astrologer. So if that's something you are interested in, you can check the link below the video. And let's continue now with the transits. So in the transits, first we start with the slower ones. So again, we pay attention to the ruler of second house, and if we have planets in second house, which won't be true for everyone. So some of us don't have planets there, but if you do have planets there, then check also what's going on with those planets. I mean, are they triggered by transits? And first we look for the slower ones: Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus. Those are the game changers. So if you have such aspects, they will affect you for years, 2-3 years. And that's huge. So first, we always start with this. If you have such aspects, then you have to put them at the top of your list and priorities. And they always indicate some kind of big transformation in their different way. So Pluto is more about the need to feel empowered or to take more, to feel stronger so that you can really transform things. Pluto is basically changing things from the basis. Neptune can bring more creative, intuitive ideas, but also confusion, distraction, so can be more difficult to define things. And we really need to develop our intuition, our creativity, and also the importance of what we put into things, like what is the energy we put into the things that we are doing. And Uranus can bring sudden insight, desire for radical changes, but also some of those changes may come from the outside. So sometimes they may feel also shocking or stressful. So in every case, start with the outer planets and check if they are connected to your second house in some way. After that, check the social planets, Saturn and Jupiter. And here, usually if you have such transits, they will be for a couple of months, or sometimes it could be even a couple of weeks, depending on the speed of the planet. So it won't be throughout the whole year. It could be on and off, but not during the whole time. So here timing matters. Find when are those aspects. And if Saturn is connecting to your second house, then you must bring some kind of structure, organization, discipline, and order in your work and also your finances. So with Saturn, we should always be proactive. Otherwise, it can be very difficult. Saturn can be quite harsh with us. So if Saturn is triggering your second house in any way during the year, you must think from this perspective. How can I take more responsibility? How can I try to be more organized, in control, extra cautious, and maybe even cut on some kind of expenses or unnecessary things, especially if they are more triggered by emotions and they're not so practical. If Jupiter is triggering your second house, usually it will happen for a few weeks. If you are lucky, sometimes it could be around 2 months. If Jupiter is very slow, turning retrograde or direct around this time. But it may repeat also up to 3 times. So check the timing, it will matter. And Jupiter can bring opportunities, but honestly, something I want to share from my personal experience as an astrologer and working with so many charts already. One massive or very common mistake that we do is that we expect that when Jupiter triggers our second house, money should come out of nowhere, or opportunities should knock on our door, or something is supposed to happen just without our participation. Sometimes it does happen, like sometimes we can really be lucky and someone may suggest something, or we can really get at the right time and say the right thing. Or yes, there are such lucky situations, but for the most part we need to do something. And it's great to know when are your Jupiter transits, but it's even better if you try to be proactive and do something. Search for those opportunities, or plan your new projects around this time, or start building up some new connections. So try to prepare for those in advance, because usually, as I said, they are not so long. And when you know them in advance, then of course this will be your potential productive time, or even time for potential breakthrough. So preparation in advance is always something smart. Basically, that's the point of astrology. One of the points. Next, we have the faster planets. So something to look for, which will definitely happen. So if the previous indications we talked about may or may not happen, so some of us may not have Pluto, Neptune transits during the year. Some of us may not even have Saturn or Jupiter transits. But for the rest of the planets, they are so fast that you are gonna have them during the year no matter what. So it's actually pretty smart to know and to prepare. And those faster transits, usually they are not life-changing on their own, out of context and without the rest of the chart or the rest of the planets, but they could be really nice boosters of some activity, some ideas, some productivity, some initiatives. And even more importantly, if we combine them with with the slower planets, then we can see, okay, which is actually the peak moment during the year, or which months are the peak months when I can and I should do my best if you want to grow financially or handle with some kind of financial situation. So the first thing to look for are lunations, new moons, full moons, and possibly eclipses. So eclipses may or may not apply to you. But if you do have them, then it's really important. But for the new moons and the full moons, most likely you are going to have those during the year. So find out when is going to be a new moon in your second house, because this will bring the potential of a new process, a new beginning financially for you. Again, you need to be proactive. So this is not about passively postponing everything until then. But if you, again, want to prepare and set intention and also start taking actions after that, then it's great to know those times. So new moons in second house and also full moons. The full moons, they will always trigger the opposite house, second and eighth house. And eighth house is also important. Generally, if you want to add more things into your financial analysis, then it would make sense also to check eighth house, especially if you have mutual resources with other people, your life partner or business partners, or if you have some credits, loans, and generally sometimes some kind of expenses could be related to eighth house. So you might want to check this in addition as well. So new moons and full moons are kind of like possible turning points during the year. So mark them on your calendar. And the other faster planets are Mars, the Sun, Venus, and Mercury. Here, Mars would be the most dynamic. So for Mars, actually, half of us approximately will have Mars transiting our second house during the year, and the other half will have it next year, because for Mars it takes around 2 years to cross the whole zodiac. So Mars may not necessarily transit your second house, but it may have aspects also with the ruler of the house or planets in the house. So pay attention to those. Usually they don't last long. But if Mars is transiting your second house, usually it's around a month and a half, sometimes 2 months. So it's a reasonably long time. And especially if you want to start something new, if you want to put more energy into practical things, maybe even take some kind of risks, and have this extra energy, then Mars in second house is really, really helpful. Of course, we need to be mindful how capable are we to evaluate the risks. And here it's smart also to check the natal chart, but also to look honestly into yourself, because you also know yourself. And if you know that generally you struggle with taking risk, in a sense that you kind of like play it too much on the edge, or sometimes you don't evaluate the risks properly and it ends up in a bad way for you, then you must be extra careful during those transits. But if you are sometimes too cautious, or generally you are a more cautious person, or you're afraid of taking initiatives or doing something on your own, then probably Mars will just give you some boost of this energy. So in every case, it makes sense to check which are those months when Mars might be transiting your second house. The other planets are softer. So the Sun, Venus, and Mercury, they are definitely gentler and softer. The Sun is pretty nice. So the Sun transiting your second house usually lasts for 1 month approximately. And this is a time when you may also feel more cheerful. You may have some kind of, desire to express yourself through something practical. So here, what is the key? That the level of joy, the level of connection with yourself, and the desire to express yourself will be directly linked to your potential achievements financially. In other words, if you get yourself in a more passive or melancholic or apathetic state, then this may not work so well. But if intentionally you try to energize yourself, you can do this through some kind of sports or activities, or doing something that you love. But basically it's really strategic to get yourself into a more resourceful state, more joyful, more enthusiastic, because then you can literally put this energy into something concrete that can bring you financial rewards as well. So that's kind of like a life hack. About Venus, it's actually pretty similar. Venus is mostly about pleasures and joy. So when Venus, because Venus will transit our second house throughout the year for sure. And when this happens, you need to allow yourself to have more joy. For example, you can go have a massage if that's something you enjoy, or you can buy yourself something nice, not necessarily expensive, or especially for women, you can do something that makes you feel more feminine. But in every case, if you feel this pleasure, and the Venus type of pleasure is not necessarily active, so it doesn't have to be about active self-expression, or it's more actually passive and deeper within us, just to feel comfortable with yourself, then this energy can also help you to do something more concrete and have some more beneficial financial results. So that's also something interesting to look at. And Mercury. Well, Mercury is a planet which can bring ideas, curiosity, and some kind of interest. So when you see Mercury in transit in your second house, which will happen for sure during the year, it may happen more than once sometimes. It depends. For some of us, could be more than once. Then you must find something interesting to feed your mind with. You may find an interesting book, some kind of podcast. You can learn more about astrology and finances, whatever makes your mind active and curious. And you can literally brainstorm ideas. You can communicate, you can socialize with people, ask for advices. For example, if you're working with financial coaches or some kind of advisors, this can also be a great time. When Mercury is transiting your second house, generally you need to focus more on the mind, come up with some kind of ideas, and try to apply them in a practical, concrete way. So that's also something interesting. And pay attention if Mercury will be retrograde in your second house. This won't be true for all of us, but for some of us, Mercury retrograde phases might trigger our second house. This will be even more important. Mercury will stay longer in your second house in this case, and it may kind of like ask you to revisit, change something, or fix, improve something. So this is also important. So that's the quick overview. You can literally do this for each month, and then you can evaluate which months seem more important and which seem potentially more challenging, when you need to be more careful. And then you will know also what can bring you more financial results. Do you need to be extra organized? Do you need to learn to relax more? Do you need to learn to share more, or to be more grounded, or to be more intuitive? Basically, your chart, again, starting from the natal chart, then prediction, secondary progressions, solar return charts, and transits can offer you this map. And as I already said, if you want help with such analysis for the whole year, this is not necessarily about finances. It could be about anything that could be relevant or important throughout the year. You can get this astrology reading for the year and additional extra help, which is included, so you don't pay extra fees. One gives you 3 additional questions during the year. You can use them anytime you want, and you can ask something new, something different, something has changed, or there is a new situation, or you need to make a decision or plan something. Then at any time you can contact me, and without extra fees I will answer your question. And the more advanced option is when you basically get a full year of astrology support, starting with this analysis of your prediction, and then each month you can ask a different question, or we can discuss what could be the main focus for the month, what would be the best to concentrate on. So it's a really interesting work. Honestly, I'm very excited because this is a journey. This is really about a mutual journey in which we are, first of all, exploring your chart, understanding how it really works, finding out, your own keys. And then we find the best strategies for you. So of course, the more we work together, the better I will start understanding your chart, how different things work for you. And then over time, of course, things will get even more, aligned. And I think that this is a really, really interesting experience. So check the links below, and I will wait for you if you are interested. I wish you all an amazing year. The last thing I want to say about money is that money is always related to how much we are capable of allowing ourselves to have, and also how much are we capable of doing for ourselves. So in every case, if you try to do this with more self-care, with more joy, with also more responsibility, this will be something universal that will help you in every case. But again, for more precise picture and understanding, you should look at your own individual chart. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you soon.